Hey guys, I want to talk about Venus retrograde. I want to talk about money, which belongs to Venus retrograde. It belongs to Venus actually. Money, pleasure, beauty, art. And I want to talk about timeline jumping or quantum jumping or reality shifting in the context of how to harness a retrograde planet. I don't think I've heard anybody talk about this before, so I've been using it myself, and I thought, I'm going to pipe in on this one. So, some of you know Venus is retrograde from October the 5th to November the 15th or 16th. It's still in its shadow of retrograde period until about December the 6th, I believe. So bottom line is the planet Venus looks like it's going backwards in the sky, and it's a little bit of an underworld journey because she's going to disappear from sight, from our eyeball sight. Okay, and therefore she's going like Persephone into the underworld around, I think, the October 26th mark. I don't have my calendars in front of me. I'm just going from my memory. And during this underworld journey of Venus, we are all called to our own inward journey. Anytime a planet's retrograde, so Venus's case, it's 40 days and 40 nights, happens every 18 months or so. We're all called to do an inward journey and a deep soul search about the things that the planet that's in retrograde motion stands for. And if you know enough about astrology or have an astrologer, it's also good to go look at your natal chart and find out which of the 12 houses of the zodiac that Venus is traipsing backwards in. All right? So for me, it's happening in my 9th house of publishing because the retrograde motion begins at 10 degrees Scorpio and retrogrades back to Libra to around 25 degrees before going back to direct motion towards where it started at 10 degrees Scorpio. And so for me, mostly that's my 9th house. In astrology, that's publishing and teaching and higher education. And it's also going to traipse back a bit into my 8th house of money. So the 8th house of joint resources and shared money and all of that. So I'm going through a lot of lessons on this. I'm really going deeply into an investigation of my value system around money and my worth around money, and also stuff to do with what I offer the world, like what do I want to teach, what do I want to write about, what do I want to share in terms of the wisdom or the knowledge that I think I might have to give to people. That's very 9th house. So I want to talk about the money piece because that's what's been most exciting and intriguing. Even though I've had 2 complete downloads about how to use this Venus retrograde for new course creations and products and written products, including a whole novel that was downloaded since the retrograde motion of October 6th. And I've written fiction before and successfully done so. The money stuff is also very, very ripe for me and for many because Venus stands for money herself. Okay, she is one of her domains is the domain of money. So I had a friend call me the other day and she said, I'm really stuck. Like, I'm so damn stuck. And this is Venus retrograde for her. She's going through it like the rest of us. Money is, going into readdressment values. Stuck because she had 11 cents in her bank account. And she had mortgage payments and a bunch of other stuff due. And she was really in a place of despair. And I gave her my advice, because I gave her the advice I'd use for myself. So I'm not your good therapist. I don't do like, oh, I'm sorry to hear it. Must feel really hard. I see you're struggling right now. I'm really not great at, reflective listening. I'm like the solutions girl, right? Triple Aries. So I'm like, I got an idea. So I told her, do what I do. Reality shift into a timeline where you have more than 11 cents in your bank account. And for me, reality shifting is making a conscious awareness choice with the support of my guides in a state of reverie, like meditation, daydreaming. It could be when you're dancing, walking in the woods, as long as you're in a state of stillness within, to select a better timeline than the one that you're in for whatever variable you would like to reality engineer within the parameters of allowance. And I say that because remember, I used to bowl, right? Because I got a magical story. Wait till you get to the outcome. There's a punchline for this story for this woman. So basically, I used to do bowling. I was a captain of my bowling team in high school. And one of the really cool things was we had bumper bowling for the newbies who were learning how to bowl. And my daughter bowled too. So you put these bumpers in so the ball can't go in the gutter. And so no matter what, even if you don't have a strike or a spare, the ball at least is still going down the darn aisle toward the end of the lane, right? So that's what the reality shifting is like. Bumper bowlers are permission of your guides or your inner guidance system or God or the divine before you do a reality shift, because because you don't want to go in the gutter. So I did this one time. I did a reality shift consciously without asking for permission of my guides because I damn well wanted to. I had terrible seasonal allergies a few years ago, and I decided I was going to jump myself out of those allergies by choosing a timeline in which I wasn't sneezing my brains out in the spring or fall. And well, this is just so funny because I was so determined to get my way that I didn't even bother to ask. So I was in a flotation tank doing a magnesium float and a deprivation tank this time. This is about 3 years ago. And I decided to jump. So my way of doing a jump, because I'm going to tell you there's a story about be careful what you jump toward without permission, and then the punchline from my girlfriend. Stay tuned. I'm going to give you both at once. I didn't get permission. I actually had a vision at the end of my meditation in which I saw myself. I just picture myself changing lanes on the highway, okay? You can use whatever image you like. When I want to jump to a different reality where I have a bit of a better outcome or a slightly tweaked outcome, I just picture I'm changing lanes on a highway. That's all I do. So you can have, but I have to do it in a state of meditation, right? So, and I do it for clients and with clients, and I use different imagery for each person because it really depends on who you are. So what happened was I bumped myself into a timeline where I wouldn't have seasonal allergies. And by the way, I don't anymore. It worked. However, at the end of my reality shift jump, I actually pictured or knew, I heard the word 16th Avenue. You're going to jump on 16th Avenue. That's a road that I could take home from the float. And I did, because I decided to stop at a store called Choices Avenue and park in front of it after my float to get some groceries. And I parked my car. I stopped to park my car and was going to reverse into the parking spot, and a guy went barreling by my car and sheared my left driver's side mirror off my car. Now, he went around me, and I was at a full stop, and I was in a place where there was no room to get around me, so it was his fault. And at the end of the day, his insurance paid for the damage, and witnesses were there to show me that. But it was a lot of hassle because he started to protest. I had to fight with his insurance company. It took me months. I had to take photos of the site where he tried to go around me, et cetera, to prove that he was at fault. It was a lot of grief and headache. And it was not to mention, it was a fucking shock, excuse my language, to my system when I heard this crashing, shearing sound as I was turned away from where the sound was coming from. You could only imagine the adrenaline rush. So, well, that's another story, because sometimes we need to reality shift through an adrenaline hit. So like a near miss, an accident, a jolt to our nervous system. So that was the mechanism for the adrenaline to jolt me into another reality. However, the downside of it was I jolted into a place of a lot of headache and hassle over several months to clear up the insurance issues with that accident, okay? Now, my girlfriend called me a couple of days after I told her to do a timeline jump and get permission of her guides. And she said, oh my God, I just got $600 deposited into my bank account from like left field, something she didn't expect, something that wasn't supposed to be coming in. And I'm like, yeah, did you reality shifted, right? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it works. Use it with caution and ask your guides for help. So as Venus is going retrograde, when things to do with your self-worth and value and money, which is a representation of your worth and value, it's just energy, guys. It's not evil and rotten. The system might be evil and rotten, but money itself is just like, I could give you 6 hens for building my house, or I can give you some cash, right? It's just an exchange of energy. So if you want more of the resourcefulness of money in your life and you don't seem to have enough, do a reality shift. So the last part of my story on reality shifting, Venus retrograde, and money is this. This is kind of funny. I decided that I wanted to win a lottery ticket, right? Because I'd been on a total losing streak with the little scratch and win lotto things. And I hadn't won, I literally had 7 in a row that were duds. And I have a group of people in my Power of 8 group. It's like an intention setting group that were working for me in sending me in abundance and money intentions in the last 7 days. And I said to them, imagine that you see me jumping up and down like a girl who's won a prize at the fair. And when I said that, I actually pictured a spinning wheel, one of those roulette wheels. Well, of all things, yesterday, I was trying to pour myself a glass of water at my sister's kitchen. I'm visiting her in Northern Ontario. And the glass slipped from my hand, shattered in a zillion pieces on the ground, water everywhere, it was full. And I call that shattering of the vessels. But the jolt of energy that takes, like a jolt, like a voltage energy, when you shatter or break something, it's a lot better than having your mirror sheared off by the guy next to you. But is a reality shift. And I said to my sister, oh my God, I just shifted realities. I hope it's a reality shift where I win some money in the lottery, yada, yada. And so later that afternoon, we went to the store. I bought a little scratch and win ticket based on my intuition of which one to pick. And it was something called spin. I didn't win money. I won something called spin, and I had to go back the same day to the store where they took my ticket and they put it in this machine. And then I watched this like spinning thing, sort of like less like a roulette wheel and more like going like this. What would I call it? Sort of like a slot machine on this direction. So it's spinning, and then I won 20 bucks. Woo! And I jumped up and down for joy, like a little girl who won at the fair on something that spins. That was exactly the vision I had that I asked my people who are intending for me to share, like hold for me. But obviously that's not a massive win, but it's still within the parameters of my intention to win some money on a lottery ticket, or in this case, a scratch and win, which is what I was playing for a long time now. Okay, so that's a little bit of fun story. Take your Venus retrograde right now. Mercury is conjunct, or coming into conjunction or co-joining Mercury at this time, and so Mercury is about messages that might come to you, good luck, good news, money, stuff, you know, out of the blue, left field. Mercury is the messenger, also the trickster, but also the messenger. So why don't you do some playful reality shifting intentions around money, especially if money is a hardship for you, especially if it's a struggle right now. Just ask for some latitude there on the lane of life, the bowling lane. And if you're in like an edge of that lane traveling down to where instead of a strike, with the metaphor of a strike being a lot of abundance, and you're just going to get like knock off one pin, then ask for a trajectory shift that's within the parameters of what your divine guidance or soul will allow. Because sometimes these places we get into where we don't experience flow and ease in certain areas, whether it's love, money, or health, have nothing to do with our karma or some heavy soul energy. It has to do with our beliefs and our fears and our patterns and our habits and a lot of junk that we come from, that we learned from the ancestral line that we come from. So, you know, a lot of times people just think that, you know, that's their lot in life, but you don't know that. Get your soul on board. Do a reality shift. See how much latitude you might have. And I'm only bringing this up now because of Venus retrograde. It's a great time to go deep and investigate some of your patterns, habits, fears, and resistances to abundance and money. Okay? Thanks for listening. Oh, I'm having a Venus retrograde group. Who am I? I'm Laurie Lothian, the Awakened Dreamer. Subscribe. Hit the bell. Anyway, and call to action. There's a little link below this. If you want to join my Venus retrograde group on Facebook, we're about a week in, but we still have, it's a 40-day journey. We still have, you know, a few more weeks left, and you can catch up easily. 130 of us are going in together for free, for fun. I'm just leading the space to investigate our journeys through Venus retrograde. So come on board if you feel like you're called, your soul is calling you. And I have a free meditation you can download as well called Enter the Synchronicity Portal. Jumpstarts your synchronicity and magic. That's also in the links below this video. Thanks, guys. Mwah.